Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Over the past number of experience in the training industry, I have had the honors of co-facilitating many senior trainers of Pakistan. One of those experiences was very special for me, in which I was co-facilitating an experiential learning training. It was the first time I was doing it, and the person I was co-facilitating with is here with us again, Mr. Saad Tariq. Assalamu alaikum, Saad.
वालेकुम अस्सलाम शाहजेब, कैसे हैं आप? ठीक हैं?
बिल्कुल ठीक साद आप कैसे हैं
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह.
Saad, thank you very much for joining us again. As I was going through the topics that I want to discuss with my viewers, one of the topics that came to my mind was experiential learning and gamification. Now, there are not many trainers in Pakistan who actually do experiential learning and gamification trainings. I remember I co-facilitated you, I think 6 or 7 months ago in an experiential learning session in which you engaged the participants in different kind of activities and then linked them to the content and the objectives of the training. So today's topic will be understanding experiential learning and gamification. So for my viewers, I want you to quickly explain what is experiential learning, what is gamification, and how do you differentiate each of them?
Learning. We need to first understand where does experiential learning come. Where does it come from? Initially, the idea was that you want to make sure that you want to engage adults in the learning as much as they would want to be, so that they feel part of that whole process. अब उसमें क्या होता है, the idea of experiential learning comes from the word experience, that you let them experience something on their own so they can identify whether they have that skill or that competency or not. Some people also call experiential learning game-based learning. So normally the misconception that people have is game-based learning and gamification are the same things, which they're not. We'll talk about that in detail when we talk about gamification, but first let's understand game-based learning or experiential learning. Now, game-based learning or experiential learning stems from this idea that you involve people in a game setting, or you play different activities. That could be abstract games, could be tabletop games, could be physical games, could be paper-based games. You involve them in games, and while they're involved in those games, they're actually practicing all the skills that you want to teach them or train them or develop in them over that training program. So for example, अगर मैंने बात करनी है about communication, rather than putting people in a conversation or in a program where I'm only talking about communication, I put them in a situation, a game-like setting or an activity where they have to use their communication skills to either solve a problem, get a task done, complete a job, or get something done in a certain period of time.
Saad, before we move on to gamification's part of this video, I want you to tell our audience or tell aspiring trainers like myself that how do you design an activity which you can use in experiential learning. For example, I was co-facilitating you in one of the sessions and you use the cards for a negotiation skills improvement exercise. So how do you come up with those kind of exercises?
Okay, so I think what that requires is this understanding of what is it that you want to achieve. Once again, जो हमारी पिछली वीडियो में भी हमने बात की थी, we talked about understanding your learner, right, and making sure that you make the learning objectives relevant to them. Yes. Now, if I want to teach someone about negotiation skills, right, or I want to teach them how to negotiate well, how to be in a situation where it's either win-win, it's barter, or it's win-lose, how do you make sure your pitch is very effective and strong? The idea behind designing a game is very simple. You take an abstract problem and you represent that abstract problem with whatever props you can find, and then you create a problem around it, and that problem has constraints, has hurdles, has difficulties, has challenges that need to be addressed,
and has a solution as well.
Yes, and ideally not one solution, has multiple solutions. Because see, there's this game that we play, it's complex problem solving and critical thinking. There's only one way of doing it, but then there are 25 variations that you can try. Normally, people struggle with the game if they don't plan effectively. So even with that negotiation game, skills game, there is a lot of planning involved in it. There's a lot of collaboration. There's a lot of understanding your counterparts. There's a lot of you knowing what is going to be your threshold or your bottom line, or your no-go zone, or the point of no return for you. and that is what really matters.
Right. So, Saad, moving on to our second part of the video uh, about gamification. So, there's a
Okay.
this for the past 2 to 3 years, gamification has become a buzzword in the training industry. What exactly
Mhm.
is gamification?
Okay, so if you want to understand gamification, understand it this way, that gamification is the process of using game elements and game design in non game concepts. So, if I have to explain it to you, it is that I will use all the principles that help design a game in a non game situation. So, for example, अगर मैंने game based learning करनी है ना, let's take an example. Let's say I want people to understand the importance of time management,
Yeah.
understand the importance of coming on time, कि किस तरह they can be more dependable. Now, if I play a game around game based learning, mein kya karunga ki I will put them in a situation where time is of the most important essence. Time is of the most important factor. Okay, they have to complete something in a given time, and they will not have chances to, they won't have a lot of time to think about it, they won't have a lot of time to plan or execute three different ways of doing it. They have to make sure time is the most important element, and
Mhm.
they have to focus on time. That is me, that is us, that is designing a game based learning program around time management skills. But let's say if I want to use gamification now to help people understand time and the importance of it, what I'll do is, if let's say there is a login time and a log out time, I will associate a score to the login and the log out time. That if someone logs in around 9:05, the person will get 2 points. If the person logs in before 9, he gets 10 points. And at the end of the month, it will be a competition. Whoever has the most points will get either a gift card, a certificate, a coupon, or a recognition, whatever it is. So you take game elements and you put them in a non-game situation to make sure that people are competing to be successful.
Saad, what I understood from your explanation is that when we talk about gamification, what we do is that we introduce or we induct those games in real life situations, and then challenge the participants or people to kind of play those games in real life situation and compete with each other, and then learn from those results. Is that true?
Yes. So let me give you a very easy example.
All right.
We all love competition, right? And we all love winning. अगर हमें बताया जाए ना कि भाई competition है, आप ये देखा होगा आपने कि when we were playing those games, whenever it would be a competition, people would be fighting to make sure that they win. They're
Yeah.
very competitive. We're very competitive by nature, and that's where the motivation comes from. That when you're competing with someone, you want to win, and with that win comes that motivation that I was better than the other person.
But Saad, how does it impact the participants or the employees? Because if someone wants to if someone doesn't want to win the game, then they wouldn't even care about the scoreboard that is in place in the office or winning. So how do you make sure that the participants or the people who you involved in this gamification follow the rules?
Okay, so first of all, it's not about the rules, right? It's about this sense of competing with each other. Now, hardly, अब क्योंकि I've been doing experiential learning for a while now, right? In Pakistan and in the Middle East as well, and I've realized that everybody likes to compete at their own level. Some people will compete at a higher level. Some people will just compete so that they stay relevant. Some people will compete just for the bare minimum. But everybody competes. And if people don't compete, what you do is you put them in a situation where they have to, whether they won't survive, because we want to survive, right?
Definitely.
As a one, we're not, this is not a philosophy class and we're not talking about that, but just on a very general idea of us as our existence. Our existence is based on this very basic concept that we have to survive. Now,
Right.
some people will survive because they want to be the best. Some people will survive that they just want to survive, or they just want to be good enough and just get through it. And some people would do it for the bare minimum. At the end of the day, आप दुनिया में कहीं भी चले जाओ, I think people want to be involved in the learning process. And the
बिल्कुल.
only way you can involve them is that you make them have fun first. First, you make them have fun, and then you bring the serious talk or the serious conversation in. क्योंकि अगर मैं शुरू ही serious conversation के साथ करूँ ना, everybody, most of the people who come for a training, they're not really there because they want to be there. They're there because they have to be there.
Have to be
So
true. That's great.
उस situation को change करने के लिए ना, you have to make sure that you first help develop that urge that they want to be there and they are enjoying themselves and they find value in it. फिर उसके बाद you bring all the serious talk or the real talk, which is the learning objectives, learning outcomes.
Right. Thank you so very much, Saad. I hope that our viewers have gained a lot of knowledge about experiential learning, gamification, what these concepts are based on, and what are the principles used in these concepts. Thank you very much for watching us, and thank you very much, Saad.
Thank you so much, Shaz. Thank you so much, Shazib. It was a pleasure. Take good care of yourself.